The Valoran Empire had ruled the galaxy for 12,000 years. Their ships numbered in the millions. Their weapons could destroy entire planets. Their leaders believed that no species could ever challenge them. They were wrong. When Valoran sensors first detected humanity, the alien commanders laughed. The humans had only recently learned to travel between stars. Their ships were small and slow. Their weapons were weak. High Commander Zorith looked at the reports about Earth and felt nothing but boredom. "Add them to the list," he told his officers. "We will conquer them when we have time. They will make good workers for our mines." Zorith did not know that 12 human ships had already entered Valoran space. These ships looked old and weak. Their metal hulls seemed primitive. Their power readings were low. But appearances can be deceiving. Admiral Catherine Cole stood on the bridge of her ship, the Endurance. She was 53 years old with gray hair and tired eyes. She had fought in many wars during her long career. She had learned one important lesson from all that fighting. When you are weaker than your enemy, you must be smarter than your enemy. "Admiral, 3 Valoran cruisers are coming toward us," said Lieutenant Danny Marsh. He was young and nervous. The Valoran ships were each 5 times bigger than any human vessel. Catherine studied the enemy ships on her display screen. By all normal logic, her small fleet should run away. The Valorans were too powerful. But Catherine had not come here to run. "Hold position," she said calmly. "Let them come to us." The Valoran cruisers moved with the lazy confidence of hunters who had never met anything dangerous. Their commander, Torvax, opened a communication channel. His face appeared on the human screens. He was tall and scaled, with cold yellow eyes. "Primitive creatures," Torvax said. "You have entered Valoran space. Give us your ships and surrender. If you fight, you will die." Catherine smiled. It was not a friendly smile. "My name is Admiral Catherine Cole. I command the United Earth Fleet. We will not surrender. But I will give you a chance to leave. You have 60 seconds to turn your ships around. If you stay, you will not survive." Torvax laughed. It was an ugly sound. "You have 12 small ships. I have 3 cruisers. Each of my ships can destroy your entire fleet. You are either very brave or very stupid." 60 seconds, Catherine repeated. "Starting now." Torvax ended the communication and ordered his ships to attack. He was still laughing when he gave the command. He would not laugh for much longer. Catherine watched the Valoran ships move closer. When they reached the right distance, she spoke one simple command. "All ships, execute Protocol Sigma." What happened next would be remembered for a very long time. The 12 human ships began to change. What had looked like old metal plating moved and shifted. Hidden weapons appeared on every surface. The weak power readings suddenly became very strong. The primitive human ships were not primitive at all. The Endurance fired first. Beams of light shot out from the ship, beams that should have been impossible for a vessel so small. These beams passed through Valoran shields like the shields were not even there. They cut into the enemy hull and caused massive explosions. All 12 human ships attacked together. They were fast and deadly. Their weapons were like nothing the Valorans had ever seen. The alien shields, which had protected Valoran ships for 8,000 years, were useless. The battle lasted less than 1 minute. When it was over, 2 Valoran cruisers were completely destroyed. The third was floating dead in space, its systems broken and its crew helpless. Torvax was still alive, but he was no longer laughing. Lieutenant Marsh stared at his screens. His hands were shaking. "Admiral, I still cannot believe this works. How do we build weapons this powerful?" Catherine's face showed no emotion. "We had no choice, Lieutenant. When you are small and weak, you learn to become dangerous very quickly, or you die." What Marsh did not know, what most humans did not know, was that these new weapons were only 3 years old. Before the Valorans were detected coming toward Earth, human ships really were primitive. They really were weak. But humans had one ability that the Valorans had never encountered in all their 12,000 years of power. Humans could change very fast. Other species took hundreds of years to create new technology. Humans did it in months. Other empires built their ships the same way for thousands of years. Humans redesigned everything whenever they faced a new problem. The Valorans had stopped improving long ago because they did not need to improve. Humans never stopped. Catherine ordered her crew to rescue the surviving Valorans and to take the computers from the damaged ship. Every piece of alien technology would be studied. Every secret would be learned. And then human scientists would make it better. Send the captured data to Earth immediately, Catherine ordered. Tell the research teams to begin analysis. I want working copies of their shield technology within 2 weeks. 2 weeks? Marsh looked shocked. Admiral, that seems impossible. 3 years ago, faster-than-light travel seemed impossible. We figured that out in 6 months. Catherine turned to face her lieutenant. The Valorans have made a terrible mistake today. They thought we were weak. They thought we were primitive. They thought they could crush us without effort. And now they have given us a reason to show them what humanity can really do. Catherine looked out at the debris floating in space, the remains of ships that had belonged to the most powerful empire in the galaxy. They wanted a war with primitives. Instead, they are going to get a war with something they have never faced before. What is that, Admiral? A species that evolves. A species that adapts. A species that gets stronger with every single fight. Catherine's voice was cold and certain. The Valorans have ruled this galaxy for 12,000 years because nobody could challenge them. That era is about to end. The Endurance and the other human ships began their journey back to safer space. Behind them, the crippled Valoran cruisers sent a distress signal that would eventually reach the Valoran homeworld. When the leaders of the Empire heard what had happened, they would be angry. They would send more ships. Bigger fleets. More powerful weapons, and every time they did, humanity would learn. Humanity would adapt. Humanity would become more dangerous. The greatest empire the galaxy had ever known had just made the worst mistake in its long history. They had noticed humanity. They had threatened humanity. They had attacked humanity. Now they would learn what that really meant. Catherine Cole sat in her command chair and allowed herself a small moment of satisfaction. The first battle was won. There would be many more battles to come. The Valorans had millions of ships. Humanity had dozens. By every normal measure, the humans should lose. But Catherine had stopped believing in normal a long time ago. Normal was for species that accepted their limits. Humans had never accepted any limit. That was their greatest strength. The stars stretched out before her, cold and infinite. Somewhere out there, the Valoran Empire was preparing its response. Somewhere out there, the future of humanity was being decided. Catherine was ready for whatever came next. The news of the disaster reached the Valoran homeworld in 3 days. The High Council met in emergency session. For the first time in 8,000 years, the rulers of the galaxy were worried. Grand Admiral Kethros stood before the council and explained what had happened. His voice was calm, but his eyes showed concern. He had served the Empire for 200 years. He had never seen anything like this. The humans have weapons that pass through our shields, he reported. Their ships are faster than our data predicted, and they are learning very quickly. Too quickly. Council member Voroth was the oldest member of the ruling body. He had lived for 500 years and believed he had seen everything. This must be a trick, he insisted. Perhaps they stole technology from another species. No primitive race can advance this fast. It is impossible. I agree it should be impossible, Kethros replied. But the evidence is clear. They are doing it anyway, the council argued for many hours. Some wanted to send a massive fleet immediately. Others wanted to study the humans more before attacking. In the end, they made a decision that seemed reasonable to them. They would send 40 warships, including 2 of their largest dreadnoughts. This force would be enough to crush the small human fleet and end this problem forever. Or so they believed. Admiral Catherine Cole learned about the coming fleet through channels that would have horrified Valoran intelligence officers. In the weeks since the first battle, human hackers had broken into Valoran communication networks. They had found weaknesses that had existed for thousands of years. Weaknesses that nobody had ever bothered to fix because nobody had ever looked for them. Catherine met with Commander Lucas Grant, in her quarters aboard the Endurance. Lucas was head of tactical planning. He was a quiet man in his 40s who saw patterns that others missed. 40 ships, Catherine said, studying the intelligence reports, including 2 dreadnoughts. They are taking us seriously now, Lucas nodded slowly. Our current fleet cannot fight 40 ships directly. Even with our new weapons, we would be destroyed by sheer numbers. I know. That is why I have requested help. Catherine activated her display screen. The second and third fleets will arrive in 3 days. That gives us 36 ships total. Still fewer than them, but closer. The Valorans will expect a normal battle. Ship against ship. Fleet against fleet. Yes, and we will not give them what they expect. Catherine pulled up another display. Have you read the reports about the new mines? Lucas raised an eyebrow. The gravitic mines. I saw the early test results. They finished testing yesterday. The first shipment comes with the second fleet. Catherine's smile was thin and dangerous. The Valorans have not changed their battle tactics in 8,000 years. They form their ships into standard patterns. They advance in straight lines. They depend on being stronger than everyone else. Predictable enemies are easy targets, Lucas observed. Exactly. 3 days later, the human fleets gathered in the battle zone. 36 human vessels faced 40 Valoran warships across 1,000,000 kilometers of empty space. Fleet Lord Morvas, the Valoran commander, opened a communication channel. Humans, he announced, his voice full of ancient pride, you have attacked the Valoran Empire. Your species will be conquered. Your worlds will be taken. Your leaders will be killed. Surrender now, and we might let some of your people live. Catherine's response went out to both fleets. Fleet Lord Morvos, my name is Admiral Catherine Cole. I want you to remember this moment. I want you to remember that we gave you a chance to retreat. Every death that happens after this is because of your empire's pride. She paused. You have 60 seconds to turn around. After that, we will show you what humanity can do. Morvos closed the channel with an angry gesture. He ordered his fleet to attack immediately. The Valoran ships surged forward in their traditional attack formation. It was a wedge shape that had crushed countless enemies over thousands of years. What Morvos did not know was that the space between the two fleets was filled with 500 invisible mines. These devices were so small that Valoran sensors could not detect them. But they could generate gravity fields powerful enough to crush a ship from the inside. The front of the Valoran formation hit the minefield at full speed. 12 ships died in the first. 30 seconds. They crumpled like paper as gravity twisted and pulled in impossible directions. The careful formation fell apart as surviving ships tried, desperately to avoid invisible death. Then the human fleet attacked. They did not advance in formation like the Valorans expected. Each ship moved independently, striking at enemy vessels from unexpected angles. They used their speed to avoid concentrated fire while their strange weapons tore through shields that had protected Valoran ships for millennia. Fleet. Lord Morvos watched his fleet being destroyed around him. This is not possible, he whispered. They are primitives. They cannot do this. His tactical officer, a female named Cirith, was analyzing data with trembling hands. Fleet Lord, their ships are adapting during the battle. Every time we find a defense against one weapon, they switch to something new. They are fighting differently every few minutes. The battle lasted for hours. When it ended, 27 Valoran ships were destroyed, including 1 dreadnought. The remaining 13 ships, including the second dreadnought, surrendered when they ran out of ammunition and their shields failed completely. Human losses were too. Ships destroyed and 7 damaged. Catherine stood on her bridge watching recovery operations. Lucas Grant approached with a data tablet. The intelligence teams are already taking data from the captured ships, he reported. They think we will have copies of Valoran shield technology within 2 weeks. Improved versions within a month, Catherine nodded. And so it begins. Every battle we fight, every ship we capture, we learn more. We become stronger. We adapt. The Valorans will not accept this quietly. They will send more ships. Bigger fleets, I know. Catherine turned to face her officer. But they do not understand what they are dealing with. We are not trying to win a single battle. We are not trying to match their numbers. We are evolving. Every day, every hour, we become more dangerous than before. She looked back at the display. At the wreckage of what had been the mightiest military force in the galaxy, IQ. They have had 12,000 years of staying the same. We have had 3 years of desperate change, and we are only getting started. Lucas was quiet for a moment. Where does this end, Admiral? I do not know, Catherine admitted. But I know one thing for certain. The Valorans started this war thinking they would crush some primitive species. They are going to learn that they picked a fight with something they have never encountered before. What is that? A species that refuses to lose. A species that turns every setback into strength. A species that looks at impossible situations and finds a way through anyway. Catherine's eyes were hard as stone. They wanted to conquer humanity. Instead, they are going to watch humanity rise. Somewhere in the darkness of space, the survivors of the Valoran fleet were sending desperate messages home. The news would reach the Empire soon. And when it did, the leaders of the Valoran civilization would have to face a terrible truth. The galaxy was changing. The old order was ending, and humanity was just beginning to show what it could really do. The defeat of Fleet Lord Morvos hit the Valoran homeworld like an earthquake. For the first time in living memory, the High Council was truly afraid. For the first time in 8,000 years, they used the word crisis in their halls of power. Grand Admiral Kethros presented his analysis to a council that could barely understand what they were hearing. His voice was steady, but even he showed signs of fear. The humans have developed weapons that destroy our shields completely, he reported. Their ships are much faster and stronger than we believed. And the most worrying thing is that they are advancing even faster now than before. Councilmember Voreth sat in silence. He had laughed at the first reports. He had called the humans lucky primitives. Now he had nothing to say. How is this possible? Asked another council member. We have watched many species over thousands of years. None of them has ever grown this fast. The basic rules of technology do not allow this. The humans appear to be ignoring those rules, Kethros replied. He activated a display showing human military progress over 3 years. Before they knew about us, their ships used simple chemical fuel and basic laser weapons. Within 1 year, they had fusion engines and plasma cannons. Within 2 years, they learned faster than light travel. And in the last 6 months, he paused, struggling to find words. In the last 6 months, they have created weapons that we do not understand. Systems that our science says should not work. Then we crush them with numbers, said Military Prefect Shandos. He was responsible for building ships. We have millions of vessels. They have less than 100. We simply overwhelm them. That assumes they stay at their current level, Kethros replied. Every battle gives them new information. Every ship they capture speeds up their growth. I have calculated what happens if they continue at this rate. He displayed a graph. Several council members gasped in horror. If they continue this fast, their average ship will be stronger than our dreadnoughts in 5 years. In 10 years, their fleet will equal our entire military. In 20 years, he did not need to finish the sentence. Everyone understood. Finally, the Grand Matriarch spoke. She had ruled the Valoran Empire for 3 centuries. She had never seen her council so shaken. What do you suggest, Grand Admiral? Kethros straightened his posture. We have 2 choices. First, total war. We gather everything we have for one massive attack on their homeworld before they grow stronger. This means leaving many territories undefended. But it gives us the best chance to end this threat forever. And the second choice? Negotiation. We accept human independence. We establish diplomatic relations. We try to make them partners instead of enemies. The reaction was immediate and angry. Council members who had been silent started shouting. The idea that the mighty Valoran Empire would negotiate with primitives, would treat them as equals, was unthinkable. But the Grand Matriarch raised her hand, and silence fell immediately. Tell me, Grand Admiral, in your honest opinion, which choice has the best chance of success? Kethros met her eyes directly. Grand Matriarch, I believe total war would work in the short term. We could destroy their homeworld and their current fleet. But humans have spread too many colonies now. Some would survive, and they would remember. They would keep developing, keep growing, driven by hatred for what we did. He paused. I believe that within 100 years, maybe sooner, they would return. And when they came back, we would not be able to stop them. And negotiation. Negotiation has its own risks. A species that advances this quickly could become a threat even as an ally. But it offers the possibility of a future where we exist together. Perhaps even a future where we learn from each other. The Grand Matriarch thought for a long moment. Then she made a decision that would change history. I'd prepare both options. Begin gathering our fleets for a possible attack. And assemble a diplomatic mission to approach the humans with terms for negotiation. We will give them a choice. If they accept partnership, we may avoid disaster. If they refuse, she did not finish the sentence. But even as she spoke, events were moving faster than her plans. On Earth, in a huge underground complex built in just 18 months, Dr. Nina Hartwell stood before a holographic display. She was 38 years old, brilliant, and exhausted. She had not slept poorly in months. Her team of 700 scientists had been working constantly since first contact with the aliens. The Prometheus engine is ready for testing. She announced to the military and civilian leaders assembled before her, if our calculations are correct, it will change everything. Admiral Catherine Cole had been called back from the front lines for this meeting. She studied the display with intense interest. Explain it simply. Nina smiled tiredly. The Valorans use fusion power. The same basic technology we used before this all started. They just made it better over thousands of years. Their weapons, shields, and engines all run on fusion. We have been copying and improving their technology because we needed something that worked. Immediately, she changed the display to show a complex geometric structure. The Prometheus engine is completely different. It draws power directly from empty space itself, from the basic structure of reality. What does that mean in practical terms? A ship with this engine would have almost unlimited power. Weapons that could break planets apart. Shields that could stop anything the Valorans have. Engines that could cross the entire galaxy in hours instead of weeks. Nina's voice dropped lower. We are not just catching up to them anymore. We are about to leave them far behind. The room was silent as everyone understood what this meant. Catherine had fought the Valorans. She had seen their cruelty and their pride. She knew what they would do to humanity if they won. But she also understood what Nina was describing. How long until this is ready for use? She asked. The test engine is ready now. Putting it into a real warship will take about 6 months. Building many ships with this technology. Nina hesitated. We estimate we could have a fleet of Prometheus-class vessels within 2 years. The Valorans are gathering for a major attack, Catherine said. Intelligence says they will be ready within 8 months. Then we need to slow them down. This came from General Patrick Webb, commander of Earth's ground forces. He was an older man who believed in practical solutions. We need to make them hesitate. Give Nina and her team the time they need. Catherine nodded slowly. I have an idea about that. Something that will make them very afraid to attack. What are you thinking? Catherine's smile was cold. The Valorans think they understand us. They think we are clever primitives who got lucky with some new weapons. It is time to show them exactly how wrong they are. The meeting ended. Plans were made. Ships were prepared. Humanity was about to show the galaxy something it had never seen before. The Valoran diplomatic ship arrived in Earth's solar system 3 weeks later. Ambassador Helith commanded the vessel, along with 40 diplomats and analysts. They expected to find a species preparing desperately for war. They expected to find humans eager to accept whatever terms the Empire offered. They found something very different. Ambassador Heleth stood at the window of her ship, watching the human vessels that had come to escort them. These ships were not like the ones that had fought at the earlier battles. They were smoother, more elegant, with power readings that made her analysts nervous. "Those ships are not in any of our intelligence reports," she said to her senior aide Karthus. "No, Ambassador. They appear to be a completely new design. Our sensors cannot properly analyze what they can do." Heleth felt the first real touch of fear. "How many ships do they have in this system?" "About 200 that we can see. But there are energy signatures from facilities throughout the system. It appears they are building many more." 200. Heleth had been told the humans had maybe 40 ships. That number had grown 5 times larger in just a few weeks. The diplomatic party was brought to Earth, to a large complex that had been built quickly to receive alien visitors. Admiral Catherine Cole met them at the landing area. She was accompanied by political leaders, military officers, and several people whose jobs Heleth could not determine. "Ambassador Heleth," Catherine said formally, "welcome to Earth. I hope your journey was comfortable." "It was acceptable," Heleth replied. She studied the human woman who had destroyed 2 Valoran fleets. Catherine Cole was smaller than Heleth had expected, almost fragile-looking by Valoran standards. But her eyes were sharp and dangerous. The negotiations that followed were unlike anything in Valoran diplomatic history. The humans did not beg. They did not plead. They presented their demands with calm confidence. "Mutual peace agreements," Catherine outlined. "Recognition of human control over our current territories and any new systems we settle. Free trade between our peoples. Cultural exchange. And complete sharing of all military technology." Ambassador Heleth nearly choked at the last demand. "You expect us to share our weapons technology with you?" "We expect fair exchange," Catherine replied. "We will share everything we have developed. You will share everything you have. Both species benefit, and if we refuse..." Catherine's expression did not change. "Then we will have to show you why refusing would be a mistake. We have prepared a small demonstration for you, Ambassador. Something to help you make your decision." Heleth should have refused. Proper diplomatic behavior required that she not let primitive threats influence her judgment. But something in Catherine's tone made her curious. "Very well. Show me this demonstration." The diplomatic party was taken to a viewing station in orbit around Earth. It was a massive structure covered with observation equipment. They were positioned before a huge window looking out at empty space. "What are we supposed to see?" Heleth asked impatiently. Catherine checked her watch. "In about 30 seconds, you will see a live feed from the Torvathi system. That is about 60 light-years from here." "Impossible. Real-time communication over such distances requires relay stations. You do not have relay stations in Valoran space. We do not need them anymore." Catherine nodded to a technician, and a holographic display activated. It showed the Torvathi system, a Valoran industrial center that Heleth knew well. "This feed is coming directly from one of our new drones. It is transmitting instantly through a method we developed about 6 weeks ago." Heleth's blood turned cold. Instant communication. The Valorans had tried to develop such technology for thousands of years and always failed. The humans had done it in 6 weeks. "Keep watching," Catherine said. In the display, something appeared. A single human ship, but unlike anything Heleth had ever seen. It was small, barely larger than a messenger vessel, but it pulsed with power that her instruments could not measure. The ship moved toward one of the Torvathi moons. It was a dead rock about 3,000 kilometers wide. Then the ship fired. A single beam of light, impossibly bright, struck the moon. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the moon simply fell apart. Not an explosion. Not a slow destruction. Complete disintegration. The rock simply stopped being solid and became an expanding cloud of dust. Where there had been a moon, there was now nothing but debris. Ambassador Heleth stared at the display. Her hands were shaking badly. "That is not possible." "It is not only possible. We can do it again and again," Catherine said calmly. "We have 17 ships with that weapon right now. We will have 50 by the end of the month. And we are already building something stronger." She turned to face the Valoran ambassador directly. Let me be very clear about what you just saw. That moon was about the size of a small planet. We destroyed it with one shot from our smallest new vessel. Our larger ships can do much more damage. Catherine's voice stayed even and controlled. We do not want war with the Valoran Empire. We would prefer peace, trade, and cooperation. But if your Grand Matriarch forces us to fight, if she sends her fleets against us, ... Catherine pointed at the display. Where the debris cloud that had been a moon was still expanding, we will do to her worlds what we did to that moon. Every world, every station, every ship, and we will not stop until there is nothing left of the Valoran Empire but memories and dust. Ambassador Helith tried to speak, but no words came. In that moment, she understood something that would take her government much longer to accept. The galaxy had changed forever. The old order, 12,000 years of Valoran power, was ending. Humanity was not a threat to be controlled or a primitive species to be conquered. Humanity was something the galaxy had never seen before. They were change made flesh. They were adaptation given form, and they were only beginning to show what they could become. Helith finally found her voice. It was barely a whisper. What are you? Catherine Cole met her eyes without flinching. We are human. We are the species that refuses to accept limits. We are the civilization that turns every challenge into strength. We are the people who look at impossible odds and find a way to win anyway. She paused. Your empire made a mistake when it threatened us. Now you have a choice. Work with us and share in what we will build together. Or oppose us and watch everything you have created for 12,000 years disappear. Catherine stepped closer to the ambassador. Choose carefully. Your entire civilization depends on your answer. The display still showed the Torvathi system. The moon was gone. Only dust remained. Ambassador Helith looked at the destruction, and she understood that nothing would ever be the same again. The age of Valoran dominance was over. The age of humanity begun. 6 months later, the Treaty of Soul was signed in a ceremony broadcast to every world in the Valoran Empire and every human colony. The Grand Matriarch herself traveled to Earth. It was the first time a Valoran ruler had ever visited a world outside their empire. She stood in the Great Hall of the United Earth Parliament, surrounded by leaders from both species. With her own hand, she signed a document that would have been impossible just 1 year before. Full recognition of human independence. Defense agreements promising mutual protection. Technology sharing programs, joint research projects, and most importantly, the restructuring of galactic government to include human representatives at the highest levels. Admiral Catherine Cole watched from the back of the hall. She felt uncomfortable in her formal uniform, but refused to miss this moment. Beside her stood Dr. Nina Hartwell, equally uncomfortable in civilian formal dress. Hard to believe, Nina whispered. A year ago, we thought we would be conquered or destroyed. Now, we are signing treaties as equals. More than equals, Catherine replied quietly. Did you see the economic reports? Within 10 years, human production will exceed the entire Valoran Empire. Within 20 years, we will be the dominant economic power in the galaxy, and military power. Catherine's expression was complicated. We already are. We just have not announced it. She paused. The Prometheus fleet is fully ready now. 300 ships. Each one can fight an entire Valoran battle group alone. And the new Phoenix-class ships are even stronger. Nina shook her head slowly. Sometimes I wonder if we move too fast. 3 years ago, we worried about weather patterns and computer networks. Now we build weapons that can destroy stars. We had no choice. When the Valorans were detected coming toward Earth, it was change or die. Catherine turned to face her colleague. But you are right to be concerned. The power we have developed could be dangerous if used wrongly. That is why the new treaties include oversight provisions. The Valorans will help keep us honest, and we will help them grow. Do you think they can change? 12,000 years is a long time to stay the same, so I think they have no choice either. The galaxy is going to change whether they want it to or not. Better to be part of that change than to be destroyed by it. The ceremony ended with speeches and formal gestures of respect. The Grand Matriarch approached Admiral Cole personally. "Your species is remarkable," the matriarch said. Her translator turned her words into clear English. "In all my years, I have never seen anything like what you have accomplished." "Thank you, Grand Matriarch." Though I should mention that we had excellent motivation. The matriarch made a sound that might have been a laugh. "Yes, I imagine facing destruction tends to focus the mind. But there is more to it than that. Your people have a drive, a restlessness, that we do not have. We achieved our power long ago and then stopped reaching for more. You have never stopped." "It is in our nature," Catherine admitted. "We are never satisfied with what we have. We always want more. We always want to go further and understand more. Sometimes that is a curse. But sometimes, it is exactly what the galaxy needs." The matriarch extended her hand in a gesture she had learned was meaningful to humans. "I hope this is the beginning of a new era, Admiral. One where our species learn from each other." Catherine took the offered hand. "So do I, Grand Matriarch. So do I." 1 year later, the first joint human-Valoran exploration fleet left the Sol system. Its mission was to explore the regions beyond the edge of the galaxy. Territories that no known species had ever mapped. Commanding the human part of the fleet was Captain Lucas Grant, his ship. The Discovery was a hybrid design using the best technology from both species. The crew included members of both races working side by side. "All ships report ready for departure," his helm officer announced. Lucas looked around his bridge at the mixed crew. Humans and Valorans working together. It was a sight that would have been impossible just 2 years ago. Now, it was simply normal, he said to his Valoran first officer. "Commander Cirith, when I first joined the fleet, I never imagined exploring unknown space with former enemies beside me." Cirith made a Valoran gesture of agreement. "And I never imagined serving under a human commander. Yet here we are indeed." Lucas sat straight in his command chair. "Helm, start the engines. Let us go see what is out there." The Discovery and its companion ships vanished in a flash of light, heading toward the unknown. Behind them, the galaxy continued to change. Human technology spread to Valoran worlds, improving lives and challenging old ideas. Valoran knowledge flowed to human colonies, providing wisdom gathered over thousands of years. New species were contacted, approached not with demands for surrender, but with offers of friendship. The era of empire was ending. The era of cooperation was beginning, and at the center of it all were the humans. The species that had been dismissed as primitives, the species that could not possibly build warships that advanced, the species that had looked at impossible odds and simply refused to accept them. They had not conquered the galaxy. They had done something far more impressive. They had changed it in the Great Hall where the treaty had been signed. It was now a plaque. It contained a simple message that captured what humanity had achieved. We were told we were too small. We were told we were too weak. We were told we could not possibly challenge an empire that had ruled for 12,000 years. We were told to surrender and accept our fate. We refused. And now the galaxy belongs not to those who came before, but to all who will come after. The age of empires is over. The age of partnership has begun. We did not ask for this challenge, but we answered it. And in answering it, we became something greater than we ever imagined. Catherine Cole stood before that plaque many years later, her hair now completely white, her eyes still sharp. She had retired from active service but remained a symbol of what humanity had accomplished. A young officer approached her. "Admiral Cole, what was it like? The early days, when everything was uncertain?" Catherine smiled. "It was terrifying. We were facing an enemy with millions of ships. We had a few dozen. By every reasonable measure, we should have lost. But we did not. No, we did not." Catherine touched the plaque gently. "Because we refused to accept that losing was the only option. We refused to believe that our limits were fixed. We refused to surrender." She turned to face the young officer. "That is what being human means. Not that we always win. Not that we are never afraid, but that we never stop trying. We never stop growing. We never stop reaching for something better." The young officer nodded slowly, understanding. Outside the Great Hall, the stars waited. Humanity was out there among them now, exploring, building, and changing everything they touched. They had started as primitives on a small, blue planet. Now the galaxy was their home, and they were just getting started.